Hi, I'm Tim Lane, here with the Essence of MMA. Today, we'll be talking with Bryan Kid Lightning Caraway and find out how he got his MMA career started and what's kept him in martial arts his whole life. You'll find out only here on the Essence of MMA. So, how old were you when you started martial arts? What was the martial art, and why did you get started?
I officially started martial arts at 10 years old, which was wrestling, collegiate wrestling, and I dabbled a little bit with Taekwondo before that as a little kid, but not serious. I really started competing when I was 10 years old in wrestling seriously, and it's funny, I originally started that because I used to watch WWF, WWE, and I thought that stuff was real. Also, my uncle was a grandmaster in Taekwondo, and my dad and his uncles, they were all into Taekwondo, and I just grew up around that, watching Bruce Lee and watching all these martial art movies and the Ninja Turtles and all this stuff, and that's just what kind of inspired me. My dad, my uncles, and just watching all these epic martial arts films.
So you actually started martial arts in Taekwondo when you were younger. Although you weren't fully competing in it, you got the thought of martial arts when you were how old?
I was probably, at 5 years old, when I was 5 years old, little kid, when I was, first starting to watch martial arts, my uncle Tommy, who's now like 76 years old, like I said, he's a grandmaster in Taekwondo, one of the highest ranking masters in the world. And, so that kind of got the idea as a little kid. And then, I started watching other movies. My brother was 8 years older than me. He watched Bloodsport, all this stuff. And when my mom's, I wasn't supposed to watch that stuff. And then I'd be at home and he's a teenager and I'd be sneaking watching these movies with him. And, it kind of started from that age. And I just started watching, WWF and WWE wrestling. And when I saw the wrestling flyer at school, I thought it was WWF. I was like, oh, I want to wrestle. I want to be a fighter and wrestle. And it was a pleasant, a funny surprise when I tried out for wrestling. I realized it was nothing like that at all. But I think it's just like I had a little bit of that blood in me, from my dad being martial arts, just growing up on a ranch and just liking to be tough. I had an older brother who's 8 years older than me, always wrestling around, being tough on me. So I welcomed, even at 10 years old, I welcomed the wrestling. I welcomed the challenge of another kid beating me or outscoring me. I was just competitive. I didn't want to lose, and I was just driven to the competitiveness.
So how would you say that martial arts has affected you in everyday life outside of fighting? Mixed martial arts has affected what aspect of your life?
Man, martial arts has extremely impacted my life. I mean, pretty much, I don't want to say mixed martial arts is my identity, but mixed martial arts is my identity. I've been wrestling since I was 10 years old. I don't know what else I would do without competing in wrestling or jiu-jitsu or MMA or some sort of competition to do with martial arts. I grew up my whole life doing this, and it's part of my heart. It's my job, it's my career. It's what paid my way through college. Everything that I have in my life and my character. Yeah, I got a scholarship for college for wrestling. And
where'd you go to college? You got a college scholarship?
Yep. I went to North Idaho College, which is a national champion junior college, and then I transferred to Central Washington University on scholarship in wrestling for them. That's actually how I got led into martial arts. Is they cut the wrestling program my sophomore year, and I got into mixed martial arts after that. It was my teammate started wrestling. His cousin was a mixed martial arts fighter, Dennis Hallman, and when they cut the wrestling team, he's like, hey, my cousin's Dennis Hallman. He fights in the UFC. He just fought Jens Pulver for the UFC world title. And I was like, man, I don't know about that. I'm not a fighter. That stuff's crazy. I'll do wrestling or this or that, but I don't know if I could actually go on and fight somebody. And then until I actually got more exposed to it, and I saw the beauty of martial arts and the competitiveness and the pureness, and it was no different than wrestling or judo or jiu-jitsu. It was just another form of martial arts. It was putting them all together, that's what was beautiful, is you really got to see the art of it. You know what I mean? There's mixed martial arts, and that's really where you got to see the art form, is not just seeing one art form, but all the art forms come together, and that was what was really intriguing. And it kind of took that gut feeling where, like, oh man, I'm fighting somebody, you know, like it brought it back down to that more of that martial, the martial part of the martial arts. And you know, obviously here I am today, you know, top ranked fighter in the world for the UFC, and just loving my life, man, doing what I love every day.
So, Bryan, in your martial arts training, you made sure to stay in school. How important was it for you to stay in school at the same time as competing?
Staying in school, you know, while I was competing in martial arts was you know, extremely huge. You know, obviously, you know, school is the background for everything. You know what I mean? School teaches you not only just about one discipline, you know, it teaches you about life. It teaches you about responsibility. You know, it broadens your intelligent quotient on, you know, every aspect of life. You never know when you're going to use something from school. Sometimes you think, man, that's useless, until you become 32 years old, 31 years old, and you're like, oh man, I'm glad I remember this when I'm doing this accounting or whatever it is. You never know when it's going to sneak up on you in life, and that's the thing about school, is it teaches you a good broad range of just being, you know, common knowledge, just well versed in life to be able to navigate through life. And you know, going to school made me I feel like, you know, helped me be disciplined towards martial arts, because, you know, being able to be disciplined for my schoolwork and on a schedule helped transfer over to my life to be on discipline on schedule for my martial arts. So they kind of went hand in hand in that discipline aspect. Another reason, you know, staying in school is really important is, although martial arts are great, you know, basketball, football, all these sports are phenomenally and great, it is a very, very small percentage of people who make it that far. And there's a lot of kids out there, if you put your grind to it and you stick your nose into it hard and you don't give up, you will get there, and you could possibly be a world-class athlete. You know, there's the difference between being a white belt and a black belt is how consistent, how much you show up, and how much you believe in yourself. But that being said, it is a very small percentage, and with school, you always have something solid to go back on. If for some reason you don't end up making a world champion and you don't end up making millions, you might even make it to the UFC or make it to the NFL, but maybe not be the #1 player. Maybe you get hurt. Maybe you are it and you get hurt and you blow your knee out or you hurt your back, because that is realistic. You have your brain to fall back on. You have intelligence. You can come back to school. You know, you could go get a well-educated job and you know, support yourself, support your family. So it's just being well versed in life. You know, you can have your playtime here, but you always got to have that backup safety net, and that's called being smart, man. That's watching your back.
Okay, so last question, Bryan, where do you see the future of martial arts?
Man, where do I see the future of martial arts? That's an awesome question, because I see the sky's the limit. You know, just 10 years ago, you seen mixed martial arts was pretty much non-existent. You know, it's kind of underground. You had all these various martial arts that were thriving, and Taekwondo, all these martial arts that were kind of separated, but no one really knew about these martial arts. No one really heard of jiu-jitsu or even judo. They weren't really that big of a sport. I mean, wrestling was kind of dying. You know, my college myself cut the wrestling programs. University of Oregon cut their wrestling programs. Programs were dying because people weren't really knowing about it. And now, because of the resurgence of the UFC and mixed martial arts and Bellator, things like that, they're bringing life back to martial arts on a mainstream media. And man, I see the sky's the limit. Now you see little girls getting involved. You know, little girls are doing things that we never thought women were capable of. You're seeing, you know, Misha Tate, Holly Holm, girls like this that are breaking the mold. They're being mixed martial arts world champions. Girls that you know, might get mugged on the street now will take a mugger and put their head through the concrete in defense of themselves, you know, will protect themselves. You see these girls that you thought were helpless, being able to completely defend themselves and you know, have a little bit more quality with the skill set. And I just see the sky's the limit for martial arts. The little kids that are coming up now, man, they're so talented. You know, they're getting everything as mixed martial artists and not wrestlers trickling in to trying to learn this. They're not judo trying to learn wrestling. You know, they're learning mixed martial arts. They're learning it all together as one, and now it's becoming its own sport, which, like Bruce Lee said, Jeet Kune Do. It's really the mesh of everything. Be like water, flow, and be able to transition every single where. So, man, I'm so pumped to where mixed martial arts is going. I think it's just going to keep taking over the world. Right now, they're saying it's arguably the #1 or #2 biggest sports in the world. It's right up there, rivaling soccer as a global sport. And I think we're going to continue just to take over the world. And we're going to be the modern day, like you're going to see modern day Michael Jordan that are the main athletes.